You were focusing on a lecture when a boy sitting beside you slides a slip to you. You frowned and opened it. History is really boring. You smiled looking at him. Jungkook, your professor husband, saw this and clenched his jaw. Anything funny, Miss Van? He asked while glaring you, and you gulped. Sorry, Professor, it's my mistake. I was asking her for the page number we were on. Not an appropriate question from an intelligent student. I hope it won't happen again. And you, Miss Van, meet me in my office later after the class, he said while looking at you with fire's eyes. You nodded at him and then started to focus on the lecture. As the class ended, you made your way to Jungkook's office. You nervously stood at the door, then knocked, then a voice came from inside. Come in. You went inside and closed the door. He was doing some work, but he left it and furiously glared at you, then stood up and walked towards you. Don't you think that you are interacting with boys a lot these days? He continues to step towards you. Why does that bother you, sir? You replied while stepping backwards. Just stop calling me sir. I'm your husband. Call me by my name. And we are in my office. No one is here other than us. And why does the boy sit beside you? Why the hell you were smiling at him when you never smile at me like that? Raised voice. Have you ever done something that can make me smile? You asked firmly. He felt guilty because it is true that he always behaved coldly with you and never did something that can make you feel happy. But that doesn't mean at all that he didn't take care of you. He fulfilled all his responsibilities as an ideal husband. Before accusing me, ask yourself if you are really my husband, and if you are, then is that how husbands treat their wives? I know I made mistake by marrying you on my parents' advice, but please don't make me regret it so much that I do something out of track. You said in one way and walked away from there. Jungkook is your husband. He is a cool and busy professor. He spends most of the time working and rarely shows much affection or attention. Even though he seems distant, he cares for you deeply in his own quiet way. He might not say much or spend a lot of time with you, but he makes sure you have everything you need and always checks in to see if you're okay. His love is more about actions than words. But now he was in dilemma. He was feeling guilty for all his doings. He realized his mistake. He should have given you some time and attention too. He gripped his hairs in frustration and walked around. Jungkook was going towards the mess when he saw you eating your lunch alone and looking dull. But then Jack came and sat beside you. Then he saw you both talking while smiling. He gritted his teeth and walked away from there. Jack finished his lunch, so he went to roam around. You were alone now. That is when Stella and her minions came and started to annoy you. How are you? Much better than your future. Shut your mouth and listen. Stay away from Jack. I know you are trying to him, but that is your job. Don't try to be smart. And don't go near Jack, else you will know what I can do. She said, then walked away. You sighed and continued your lunch. Jungkook came home and looked for you in the living room. Later, he found you studying in your room. He stared at you for a few seconds and then went away. He comes with a cup of coffee and puts it on your table. You notice his presence and lift your head to look at him. Drink it before it gets cold and don't study till late. He then walked away and you continued studying. You were sleeping peacefully, unaware of time. Jungkook came into your room to wake you up. He walked to the bed and sat beside you and starts caressing your hairs. I'm sorry, Van. I didn't realize that I was hurting you in the process of making a better future for us. He sighed, then decides to wake you up. Wake up, you're getting late. You flinched, listening to his voice, and woke up. What time is it? 6:50. Oh, I'm getting late. You hurriedly stood up and went into the washroom. Jungkook chuckled and went downstairs to make breakfast. You were coming down after getting dressed. You saw Jungkook making breakfast. You sat on the chair and continued to look at him. His veiny hands and his charming face were making your heart flutter. Why he is looking extra handsome today? Don't eat me with your eyes. Breakfast is ready. Eat it. You passed through the hallway to go to your class. Stella saw you coming and she intensely pushed you hard by hitting at your shoulder. You were about to fall, but Jack came and held your wrist. Then he pulled you up and your body collided with his. Stella gasped and became more angry because her plan failed. You then came out of Jack's grip and stood straight. You didn't realize that Jungkook saw everything. Thank you. It's okay. He smiled. You then went in your class. Stella again saw you and Jack sitting together, talking and smiling. This really needs a lesson. She grits her teeth. What are you going to do, Stella? Just wait and watch, Nikki. She smirks. You were eating peacefully. That's when Stella came and sat beside you. Vine, Professor John is calling you. He told me to tell you to come in the back in class upstairs. And why would he ask you to call me? Because I was passing by him when he was searching for you. He was looking tensed also. If you don't believe, then it's okay. Don't go. I just told you out of concern. You didn't say anything. She stood up and went away smirking. After finishing your lunch, you went to meet Jungkook upstairs. You went inside the room, but there was no one and it was dark. You turned around and stepped forward to get out of the class, but before that, Stella closed the door and locked it from outside. Now you got it that it was all her plan. You cursed yourself for believing in that. Your heartbeat raced. You cried for help, but there was no one. Your fear was rising with each passing second. Jungkook entered the class. Everyone greeted him. He looked around to get a glimpse of you, but he found something unusual. He noticed that you were not in the class. He thought you might have gone to the washroom, so he thought to wait and started the lecture. He might be teaching, but his focus was on you. After 15 minutes, you didn't come. Now he got tensed, but he continued to teach as he can't leave the lecture in the middle because of the university rules. Jungkook came into his office as the class finished. He couldn't focus. He was continuously thinking about you. If she had gone to the washroom, she would have come back by 5 minutes. But she didn't come back till the whole lecture. Where is she? Is she bunking the class or is she in some trouble? He continued thinking and then decided to ask someone about you. Jungkook walked around the hallway. His gaze fell on Jack, who is chit-chatting with his friends. He walked towards him and called him. Jack, come here. Jack walked to him as soon as he heard him. Calm down, Van. He will come for you. He will save you, Van. Don't worry. Now you were trembling in fear and yelling from time to time so that any passerby could hear you.